tienen insights de estas pruebas. Obviamente todos los insights que van a tener son cualitativos, no son representativos para todos los usuarios. Entonces, que en general recomendamos es después confirmarlos con encuestas para que sean también cuantitativos y representativos por todos los usuarios que tienen. Tenemos la suerte que Nico nos va a contar ahora unos 20 minutos, 30 minutos, supongo, sobre las pruebas. Le va a dar unos tips, unos best practices, cómo hacer las pruebas, para que sean eficientes para ustedes, para que sea un buen tiempo también para la gente que viene. Y tenemos también la suerte que hoy Andy va a dar varias charlas en el día sobre finanzas, sobre plata, sobre venture capital, cómo utilizarlo, cómo no, qué foco tiene mobile, varios temas. A las 10:30 Fundraising 101, es los bases de fundraising, lo básico. A las 11 Mobile Playbook, es decir, cómo crear un sprint para mobile. A las 11:30 estrategias de producto y crecimiento, altísimamente recomendable, por supuesto. Y a las 12 Pre-Series A Spending. Les recomiendo de aprovecharlo porque no sé cuántas ocasiones van a tener en los próximos meses, por lo menos, de tener a alguien como Andy acá para aprovechar su conocimiento, ¿sí? Así que súmanse ahí, fíjense de nuevo, probablemente ahora lo vamos a escribir ahí en un papel para que lo tienen de nuevo presente acá. Obviamente sabemos que están haciendo las pruebas. En el caso que justamente hay un tema que les interesa mucho, pero están haciendo pruebas en el mismo momento, intenten de dividirse, que uno va a la charla de Andy y el otro va a hacer la prueba, graben las pruebas. Igual ahora sobre las pruebas va a contar un poco más Nico. Después hay una cosa muy importante también para nosotros, de hecho es fundamental, y vamos a compartir con ustedes una presentación, un documento de Google de presentación de los design sprints, cubriendo un poco lo que estuvimos haciendo los últimos días y que estamos haciendo hoy, y que necesitamos es que ustedes se hacen una copia del documento, ¿sí? Y que lo llenan con sus resultados, con las fotos que sacaron de sus prototipos, de los momentos de las pruebas, de todo lo que hicimos los últimos días, que lo llenan con información de su sprint. Si no lo hicieron, es decir, si no documentaron lo que hicieron los últimos días, no pasa nada. Les pedimos que en el próximo sprint que hacen en su empresa, que llenan esta presentación, este documento, con sus insights, con su contenido, y que nos comparten este documento. La única manera en que nosotros podemos volver en un momento para seguir con ustedes y para dar las chances para otros startups, para compartir tiempo con nosotros, es tener feedback de ustedes. Si no tenemos feedback de ustedes, probablemente no vamos a tener chance de volver, porque obviamente Google mismo, como desplegaba GlobalLogic y Kaszek, necesitan el feedback de ustedes, ¿sí? Entonces les pido que lo tomen en serio. Vamos a mandar el documento y estamos esperando los próximos 4, 5, 6 semanas para que nos vuelvan el documento o que nos avisen cuando están listos con el documento, para que podamos ver cómo ustedes lo aplican realmente en su ambiente, ¿sí?
Lo que van a estar haciendo ahora cuando vengan sus usuarios, cuando se sienten con ellos, es digamos, una preusabilidad que básicamente consiste en lo que solemos hacer nosotros, que ahora lo vamos a ver mejor. Este es un usuario, acá hay una persona que funciona de moderador, es decir, que es la persona que va a estar haciendo las preguntas, escuchando atentamente y llevando el guión, ¿no? Que tiene acá el guión en la mano, y va a haber otra persona que va a estar en modo de observador tomando notas. Lo ideal, ustedes son varios por grupo, traten de ser 2 personas por usuario, no más, ¿no? A ver acá. Bien. algunas cosas a tener en cuenta, ¿no? A nivel general. La idea es preguntar a los usuarios que vayan recordando cosas sobre experiencias pasadas. Tener en cuenta que la memoria humana es falible, ¿no? Las cosas que nos cuentan los usuarios están sujetas a, al paso del tiempo, a potenciar algunas cosas o minimizar otras cosas, estar muy atentos a lo que nos dicen, no tomarlo literal, pero sí estar atentos a, las experiencias que fueron teniendo, las percepciones, lo que valoran, lo que les gusta, lo que no les gusta, ¿no? Esto también es importante. Todos nosotros solemos racionalizar lo que hacemos, con lo cual ahí tienen que prestar atención en cuándo una persona le está diciendo lo que realmente hizo y cuándo está tratando de racionalizar alguna decisión que haya tomado, ¿no? Por lo general vamos a tratar de pedirle a las personas que nos cuenten sobre experiencias que tuvieron y no sobre cosas a futuro, es decir, no sobre cosas que harían. Porque suele pasar que la gente viene y dice, sí, yo usaría esto, sí, esto está buenísimo, y después no lo usa, ¿no? Entonces es mejor preguntar sobre cosas que ya hicieron. Es mucho más confiable el dato de lo que hicieron de lo que nos dicen que van a hacer, porque no sabemos si lo van a hacer o no. Y después hay otro sesgo que suelen tener estas pruebas, que es la tendencia a que el entrevistado, digamos, el usuario, quiera quedar bien con nosotros, ¿no? Entonces, si nosotros detectamos que está siendo condescendiente con nosotros, hay que tratar de frenarlo, tratar de preguntar de otra manera, para que no nos diga todo que sí, simplemente porque, no sé, vine acá porque me invitaste y me estás preguntando si me gusta esto, y te voy a decir que sí. Entonces, evitar esas preguntas como, ¿te gusta lo que estás viendo? Y te va a decir que sí, no te va a decir que no. Entonces, tratar de ser, quizás, darle un poco una vuelta a las preguntas que hacemos y no ser tan directos, porque nos van a mentir. El tipo de preguntas que hacemos, vamos a tratar de preguntar como para sacar información, ¿no? Para tratar de sacar la mayor información posible, con lo cual las preguntas abiertas que vamos a hacer, imaginémonos que nosotros queremos saber sobre el uso de la tecnología en general, ¿no? Entonces, si nosotros le preguntamos, ¿usás Facebook en tu celular?, que es una pregunta de sí, no, hay que tratar de evitar esas preguntas y irnos un poquito más atrás. Y quizás, preguntar qué redes sociales utilizar en tu celular, para tratar de que ellos nos digan lo que queremos saber y no directamente preguntarle una pregunta de sí, no. Pero tampoco irnos tan atrás, ¿no? ¿Podrías definir tu relación con las redes sociales? Ahí ya nos fuimos a algo demasiado amplio. Algo que hablábamos ayer con algunos chicos, ¿no? Es muy importante preguntar y después quedarnos callados, ¿no? Que el usuario hable. Y asumir el rol de que nosotros estamos entrevistando, digamos. Nosotros no sabemos nada ni entendemos nada. Entonces, cuando el usuario nos pregunte qué es lo que tiene que hacer, nos pregunte cómo es, nosotros nada. ¿Qué entendés vos? ¿Qué harías vos? No jugar las respuestas y a veces hacerse el tonto, ¿no? Esto también es importante. Si el usuario dice una boludez o exagera algo, no hay que tener reacciones a eso, ¿no? Porque eso sesga después o induce las respuestas que vienen después del usuario, ¿no? Si el usuario dice algo ridículo, digamos, no reírnos o no poner caras, somos, digamos, apáticos en ese sentido. Y después, no tener miedo a preguntar de más. Si el usuario dice algo que nos interesó, volver sobre eso todas las veces que haga falta, ¿no? La gran Fantino, ¿no? Fantino hace eso, ¿no? Para. Vos me estás diciendo que tal cosa y tal cosa, eso es un recurso súper válido. Si en el medio de la prueba el usuario dice algo que nos interesa, no tener miedo a preguntar de vuelta. Che, pará, ¿cómo es eso que me estás diciendo? ¿Por qué? ¿Pero por qué tocarías acá? ¿No? Ese tipo de cosas son súper válidas también. Ahí está. Y después es importante tener en cuenta que lo que la gente dice es distinto a lo que la gente hace, ¿no? Con lo cual, no es que necesariamente todos nos van a mentir, sino que es importante saberlo para tratar de detectar cuando nos están diciendo algo y cuando eso que nos están diciendo es para quedar bien o algo así. Por eso preguntamos sobre lo que la gente hizo, ¿no? Sobre las experiencias pasadas. Bien, las pruebas de usabilidad en general, bueno, son una técnica que lo más importante, digamos, lo que quiero que se lleven como concepto, esto que vamos a hacer nos va a pedir medir y relevar la experiencia, ¿no? El producto que tenemos con usuarios reales o lo más cercano al usuario real posible, ¿no? Bien, la diferencia que tiene con otras técnicas de investigación o técnicas de user research es que acá lo que vamos a tratar de observar es la participación del usuario, no tanto cómo funciona el prototipo, sino cómo reacciona el usuario frente a lo que le estamos mostrando. Las pruebas no son un focus group, digo, también es importante lo que no es. No son un focus group, no son un control de calidad. Acá lo que nosotros queremos ver son las actitudes, los comportamientos, las opiniones, ¿no? No si funciona o no, etc. Es mejor, bueno, una evaluación heurística que, digamos, son buenas prácticas. No es costoso, no es co-creación, es decir, no estamos co-creando con el usuario. Y definitivamente no son un freno en la innovación, ¿no? A veces se ven las pruebas como un impedimento al proceso de desarrollo del producto, porque, bueno, no, yo quiero seguir avanzando sobre esto que ya sé cómo es. Bueno, no es un freno, sino todo lo contrario, es una potencia lo que nosotros podemos hacer y definir con nuestro producto. Algo de lo que hablábamos ayer es de, bueno, nos ayuda a fallar rápido y a aprender rápido. Bueno, esto quizás es un poco más técnico, pero para que lo tengan en cuenta, dentro de todas las herramientas que hay de investigación, de relevo, de comportamiento de los usuarios, las pruebas de usabilidad tienen que ver más con el comportamiento y no tanto con las opiniones, y los datos que nosotros vamos a sacar es algo más bien cualitativo, no cuantitativo, es decir, no vamos a buscar una representación estadística, sino vamos a buscar información cualitativa. Quizás son citas de los usuarios, son insights, son hallazgos, ¿no? Son patrones, pero no necesariamente son cosas que tienen representatividad estadística. Sí nos van a servir, pero tenemos que saber que eso estadísticamente no es algo representativo, y no importa. Por eso vamos a probar con 4, 5, 6 usuarios. No importa. Bien. Acá, de vuelta, ¿no? ¿Por qué las hacemos o para qué nos van a servir? Nos van a servir para demostrar hipótesis con hechos reales. Nos van a ahorrar un montón de tiempo en discusiones. Algo que también hablamos con algunos de los chicos, de que a veces uno se encuentra en discusiones circulares donde, bueno, no, la gente no va a entender esto, los usuarios sí van a entender lo otro. Bueno, las pruebas nos ayudan a eliminar eso, ¿no? y ganar tiempo. Obviamente entender el comportamiento de los usuarios, encontrar problemas específicos que quizás no los vemos porque no vemos un usuario usando nuestro producto. Muchas veces lo que pasa es que no sabemos que tenemos un problema hasta que viene un usuario y o no entiende algo, o no ve un botón, o no entiende una palabra, o ni se imagina que el producto pueda hacer lo que hace. Y bueno, y algunas cosas, ¿no? Las pruebas de habilidad, en la vida, digamos, lo mejor es hacerlo lo antes posible. Es decir, por eso no importa que el estado de su producto esté en papel, que los prototipos sean en papel, no importa. Mejor hacerlo antes que después, porque después es mucho más caro fallar. Si no, ya estamos con el código, ya tenemos cosas en producción y hacemos las pruebas recién ahí, bueno, modificar algo es mucho más costoso y mucho más lento. Y eso también es importante, que muchas veces sale o muchas veces es algo que se discute. No importa que en la primera prueba haya algún error. Siempre tenemos que probar con la misma versión, es decir, no vale corregir en el camino mientras hacemos una ronda de pruebas, ¿no? Estos 4 o 5 usuarios de cada uno de ustedes que van a venir hoy, probablemente en el primero vean algo y digan, no, modifiquémoslo para que el que venga después lo haga bien. No, siempre con el mismo prototipo, porque así vamos a poder encontrar patrones. Bien, y otra cosa más. Las pruebas de usabilidad se pueden hacer o sirven mucho en dos grandes etapas dentro de lo que es el desarrollo del producto. Tanto para explorar, es decir, bueno, yo tengo ya un producto andando y quiero ver qué cosas nuevas puedo hacer, o puedo hacerlo como validación, es decir, yo tengo una propuesta, tengo algo nuevo, una nueva funcionalidad y quiero validar que eso que pensé realmente se va a entender, los usuarios lo van a usar, etc. Entonces validamos las hipótesis que tenemos, podemos identificar potenciales problemas y de alguna manera vamos a medir la performance de la interfaz. Bien, algo muy importante que es el guión, es un poco, bueno, como la hoja de ruta, son estas preguntas que armamos ayer. Y lo importante es que no es menor esto, tener en cuenta que hay un espacio para saludar al usuario, para decirle, bueno, ¿cómo está? Quizás algunos de ustedes sean conocidos de ustedes, pero no importa. No arrancar directamente con las preguntas, sino generar ese espacio de, bueno, tranquilo, esto va a ser una charla, ¿no? Como explicar qué es lo que va a pasar y no ponerlo en una situación de pregunta-respuesta, pregunta-respuesta. Es una conversación, te voy a pedir que hagas algunas cosas y vamos a ir charlándolo, ¿no? Por eso es importante, bueno, explicar cuál es el escenario, de eso que veíamos ayer, ¿no? Que cada prueba tiene un escenario y después tareas, y darle los datos que necesita, ¿no? Si dentro de ese escenario, si el usuario necesita saber, bueno, las fechas para buscar un viaje, por ejemplo, es algo que nos pasa mucho, o bueno, si va a comprar tal producto, bueno, que tenga a mano cuáles son esos datos que necesita. Bien, hay dos tipos de tareas. Nosotros podemos pedirle al usuario que haga tareas quizás directas, ¿no? Que son acciones específicas, y es bueno, ¿dónde harías clic para tal cosa? O algo más exploratorio que incluye varios pasos, que puede ser, bueno, ¿cómo haces para elegir un hotel? ¿No? Entonces da para que el usuario hable un poco más. Algo muy importante es que ustedes al usuario le van a pedir que piense en voz alta, ¿no? Cuando llega, vamos a decir, bueno, usa el producto como si estuvieses en tu casa, pero pensá en voz alta. Entonces ese protocolo de thinking out loud que se llama, nos va a permitir como meternos en la cabeza del usuario. Es importante que se lo digan, que le pidan eso al usuario, porque entonces nos va a evitar estar preguntándole todo el tiempo, bueno, ¿por qué hizo tal cosa? Y cuando ven que el usuario se frena, ¿no? que por ahí quiere hacer algo y no encuentra, que duda, ahí no tengan miedo de preguntar de vuelta, bueno, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué estás buscando? ¿Qué estás queriendo hacer? ¿Qué es lo que no estás encontrando? Y de vuelta, es muy importante, acuérdense de tratar de no inducir al usuario a que haga las cosas que queremos que haga, ¿no? Che, bueno, pero ¿no viste el botón ahí que dice comprar? No. Siempre, bueno, esperar y preguntar, bueno, ¿qué harías? ¿Qué entendés que tenés que hacer? Si está trabado, bueno, ¿cómo lo harías en tu casa? Si yo no estuviese acá al lado, ¿cómo lo resolverías? Bien. ¿Alguna pregunta, duda, consulta? ¿No?
Sí.
Sí.
Si tuviéramos que hacer que el usuario pague, o sea, como una experiencia de relación, porque justamente en la aplicación el usuario tendría que pagar para usarlo.
Sí.
¿Cómo hacemos esa gestión? A ver si el usuario realmente pagaría por usar la aplicación.
Hay algo importante que, digamos, en investigación en general, nosotros siempre tenemos que trabajar con la incertidumbre. Nunca vamos a conocer exactamente todo del usuario. Y en esos casos lo que hay que simular la situación. Entonces darle quizás una tarjeta de crédito, darle cuál es el producto que tiene que comprar y que lo haga, ¿no? Quizás con esos datos simulados, pero que lo haga. Nosotros lo que hacemos en Despegar es justamente eso. Tenemos como unas tarjetitas inventadas y unos documentitos inventados que le damos al usuario. Le decimos, bueno, vos sos esta persona, tenés esta tarjeta y comprá como si fueses, como que le pedimos que actúen un poco. Sabemos que no es 100% real, pero muchos problemas salen igual, ¿no? Entonces, si encuentra cómo tiene que pagar, si pone bien los números de la tarjeta, si sabe dónde tiene que ir cada información, eso va a salir. Sí.
¿Qué tanto contextualizamos el momento? Es decir, ¿qué tanto le contamos a la persona qué es lo que va a hacer o para qué está?
Mira, toda la información que le sirva al usuario para hacer la tarea, es bueno que la tenga. Cuanto más podemos llevar al usuario a esa situación ideal, a ese escenario, mejor. Por eso es importante que los usuarios que vienen estén cerca del usuario real, porque les va a costar mucho menos imaginarse eso, ¿no? Como poníamos el ejemplo con los chicos de MD7 el otro día. Si el caso de uso o el usuario que ustedes quieren probar es alguien que entra al diario en la oficina, si viene una persona que no trabaja o que no trabaja en una oficina, le va a costar mucho más imaginarse eso que obviamente alguien que sí trabaja en una oficina. Con lo cual, yo te diría que cuanta más información le des sobre el contexto y sobre el escenario, mejor.
En ese sentido, el usuario podría aportar sobre el contexto. Uno le dice, bueno, imagínate que estás en tal situación y el usuario me puede decir, pero a mí eso no me ha pasado nunca, yo normalmente estoy en tal otra situación.
Sí, es muy buena la pregunta. Hay dos cosas. Una, por lo general, y obviamente en este caso como es un sprint rápido, quizás no siempre es posible, pero lo que uno trata de hacer antes de que venga el usuario, a veces se mandan preguntas tipo screener, como un filtro, para asegurarnos de que, bueno, por ahí hay algunas cosas, si nosotros queremos que venga una persona que trabaja, que no sé, que usa el teléfono, que compra por internet, esas preguntas quizás se las hacemos antes de que venga para asegurarnos de que ese escenario va a ser el de la persona. Y después, si no, sí, obviamente, ser flexibles y tratar de adaptarse a lo que trae el usuario. Entonces, si el usuario te dice, no, yo en realidad lo hago así, bueno, quizás podemos cambiar un poquito el guión, cambiar un poquito el escenario en base al usuario que tenemos enfrente. Eso es súper válido también.
Cuando marcar el contexto es muy fácil a veces meter la pata y terminar guiando un poco. En este caso, ese usuario más o menos lo trabaja igual.
¿Cómo?
Cuando vos marcas el concepto le estás contando de qué se trata, puede ser fácil meter la pata y medio guiarlo a lo que vos esperabas. En ese caso, ¿el usuario no te sirve o es algo de la pregunta?
No, depende bastante también de la actitud del usuario, pero si en alguna de las preguntas por ahí metiste la pata y bueno, lo llevaste a hacer lo que quería, no importa, bueno, tratar de que las siguientes no sean así. Y también una aclaración que es importante, si vemos que el usuario, digamos, no puede cumplir con una tarea porque no se tiene que encontrar determinada información y la busca y no la encuentra, y la busca y no la encuentra, bueno, en un momento sí es válido decir, bueno, ya vemos que no la va a encontrar, y decir, bueno, la viste esto de acá, y ahí ya sí decirle para poder avanzar con la prueba, ¿no? Y no quedarnos ahí para siempre. Una aclaración más. Es muy muy importante que le presten atención al lugar que van a hacer la prueba. Si pueden meterse, no sé cómo funciona acá el tema del telespacio, pero si pueden meterse quizás en alguna de las salas o ir a un lugar quizás más tranquilo, donde puedan charlar y la posición en la que se sientan con el usuario es súper importante también. Que no sea como un interrogatorio, sino sentarse como charlarían con alguien. Pero bueno, sí está bueno, si pueden encontrar un lugar copado para charlar y para que usen la máquina tranquilo, mejor.
Vamos a pasar una lista ahora, un papel a cada startup, que les piden por favor que anotan ahí a qué hora están esperando la persona, para que sabemos también, justamente por el tema de espacios, cuántas personas van a entrar para pruebas en paralelos, ¿sí? De los horarios. Ojalá tienen los horarios y actualízalo cuando llaman a los usuarios diciendo yo ahora no puedo, me pasó esto, voy a venir un poco más tarde. Este es un tema. Como dijo Nico, es cierto, es muy recomendable buscar un lugar tranquilo para que no molestan a los demás, pero tampoco para que los demás molestan a la prueba. Quizás es una buena idea de fijarse en la cocina, sentarse ahí con el usuario tranquilo, y si no la cocina, quizás también en el patio, para que no haya tantas molestias. Si tienen la chance de grabar la prueba, mejor todavía, porque la idea es que el moderador se enfoque realmente en el usuario, que nunca funciona, porque lo sabemos, porque lo decimos 50.000 veces, es que toman notas en el mismo momento que están moderando la prueba. Enfóquense realmente en la prueba, en el usuario, y asegúrense de una manera de que están grabando la pantalla con un celular, con una cámara, o hacen un streaming. Nosotros lo hacemos con Facebook, por ejemplo, estamos streameando la prueba para que los demás lo puedan ver. Si no llegan a esto, que sería una segunda persona que está tomando las notas, ¿sí? Pero no van con todo el equipo y con un usuario de la prueba y con 5 personas, uno moderando y 4 personas tomando notas, porque para el usuario no es muy amigable de encontrarse contra 5 personas, porque quizás lo va a sentir así. Y también es importante, si lo dijiste, lo pido disculpa para repetir, pero si no, le doy un underline de importancia. Digan al usuario de principio que esta es una prueba, y la verdad la prueba es sobre ustedes y no sobre el usuario. El usuario no puede hacer nada mal. Cualquier cosa que hace el usuario está perfecto. No están probando al usuario, porque en realidad, que están haciendo, están probando a sí mismo. Si su prototipo está funcionando, eso están haciendo. Y decláralo desde el principio, porque si no, el usuario puede pensar, pero no quiero fallar, no quiero hacer algo mal. Está todo perfecto, es una prueba, vos no podés hacer absolutamente nada mal, estamos probando a nosotros y a este prototipo. Declaran que el prototipo está limitado, ¿sí? Que no todas las funcionalidades están funcionando. Si toca algo y no tiene impacto, díganlo, bueno, mira, este es un prototipo, no todas las cosas van a funcionar. Si lo hace 2 o 3 veces y no llega al camino que ustedes quieren, bueno, ahí le pueden decir, mira, ahora necesitamos que vos tocas este botón para seguir en el flujo, ¿sí? Me parece interesante de hacerlo es pedir el mail y preguntando si será disponible para el futuro para otras pruebas. Y quizás lo pueden compartir con los demás startups también. Entonces pueden generar una pequeña base de datos de usuarios que pueden utilizar para más pruebas. Estas pruebas deberían hacer casi mensualmente. Con cosas chicas, con cosas grandes, no importa, pero para mantener la cercanía al usuario y no siempre terminando en las reuniones, yo me imagino que el usuario hace esto y esto y eso. Bueno, está perfecto, que tiene mucha imaginación, pero que ven las cosas que están haciendo de verdad y no solamente que se imaginan que van a hacer.
Y después otra cosa es que hagan la prueba buscando que el prototipo tenga errores. Si hacen todas las pruebas y no encuentran ningún error, es pésimo porque no sacaron nada. Entonces, sean muy críticos con su prototipo, digamos. Busquen sacar errores. El objetivo de las pruebas es encontrar los errores que tiene el prototipo.
No sabemos muy bien cómo hacer pruebas moderadas a distancia. No encontramos una buena solución. Porque Skype no funciona bien, Hangouts no funciona muy bien.
Bueno, primero queríamos saber si vos tomás sabés más o menos el proyecto nuestro, que lo presentamos.
Sí, me comentaron que era para comprar uno por internet.
Hay como todo un concepto atrás, pero la idea ¿Sos de comprar vino?
Sí, compro vino, pero no por internet. O sea, ni se me había ocurrido comprar vino por internet.
¿Algo
Sí, supermercados o minerías, digamos, negocios que venden especialmente vino, o bueno, en kioscos.
Ponele, si vas a una minería, ¿comprás por caja o compras botellas?
No, compro botella para tomar en el momento. No soy de comprar así cantidades.
Claro. ¿En qué situación dirías, bueno, para este caso voy a fijar en internet si puedo conseguir vino?
Y buscaría en internet si a lo mejor algún vino que no pueda conseguir en los supermercados, o algún vino en especial que quiera que no sea de fácil acceso. Yo creo que es la única forma que lo buscaría en internet.
Lo último, antes de hacer una compra por internet, ¿qué necesitas saber? Digo, en términos de, no quiero como sesgar la pregunta, pero en términos del proceso de compra, ¿qué necesitas saber vos para
necesitaría saber, bueno, el tema del... A ver, un poco de información a quién se lo estoy comprando, que no sea que me genere desconfianza o algo de esa manera, pero sí, no, y bueno, y el envío, el tema del envío, cómo va a llegar o cómo me lo van a enviar, por ahí es algo frágil.
Todavía no.
Yo generalmente compro, bueno, por internet, vinilo, billete, estilo, siempre es como que me preocupe el estado de Adecco.
Before I do that, I'm going to give you the Kaszek blurb because I need to. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the VP of Product and Growth at Kaszek Ventures. Kaszek is a venture capital fund based out of Buenos Aires. We invest throughout Latin America. It was founded 6 years ago by Hernan Kaszek, who is the co-founder of Mercado Libre, and Nicolás, who is the CFO. We've raised 3 funds, 95 million, 135 million, and we recently raised 200 million to invest in startups in Latin America. We look for Series A. We lead Series A investments for Latin American companies focused on Latin America. So that means we're not looking for global software, game companies, things like that. We're looking for companies that are focused on Latin America. And sorry guys, you got the only gringo on staff. Everyone else is Argentine, but we sent the American here, so I can do this in Spanish, but it'll be terrible. So for everyone's sake, it's gonna be in English. Next year, to come back, hopefully it'll be in Spanish. But shoot me an email if you have any questions or doubts, Andy at Kaszek. With that being said, I'm gonna talk a little about Fundraising 101. Has anyone in here raised? Yeah.
This is something.
That's a terrible pick. That's before I did the Iron Man. I lost 25 kilos from last year. So, Fundraising 101. I'm going to talk briefly about what I think are the 3 most important things that you need to know and you need to get right, and that most people get wrong the first time they go for institutional investment. The first is doing your homework. Getting an investment is not just getting money. You are marrying a VC fund. It's not a casual dating, you are attached to the hip. So not every VC fund is for you. You need to find someone who you're going to be happy to work with for a long time. Because, for instance, if you raise from Kaszek, you're basically signing on for a monthly board meeting for the first 2 years post-investment because we want to be there and help. Other funds, they're going to give you money and connect you to networks. Other funds are not going to help you raise money your next round as easily because they want to keep, their proportion of your company. So do your homework and understand what a fund does. The best way to do that is to find some entrepreneurs who've been invested by that fund. All of us, every fund out there has a website which has our portfolio on it. Find them on LinkedIn, ask a CEO, ask a founder about the fund. What's the relationship like? Maybe you want a specific fund if you're a blockchain company that focuses on blockchain. Or maybe it's better to have a company like Kaszek where we're more generalist for Latin America. But you need to do your homework. One, because you're going to be talking to us, and if you get invested working with us for a long time. 2, the funds talk. So if you're sending very different messages out there and you're just scattering your deck to everyone, it's not going to go well. The second big and really important piece of doing your homework is get to the fund directly. We have a form for applications on our website. I think that of our 45 investments, maybe one of them has come through the form. Get an introduction. It really makes a difference. You are all in this space, which means that you can get a hold of Juan, and Juan can get a hold of me. And I can put you in touch with the investment team. But a cold email to a website, a cold LinkedIn reaching out, it means to us that you're not serious. It takes a day or 2 for every fund to find the person, to find a way to get connected to them. If you're not doing that, right off the bat, we're going to say this is not a hungry entrepreneur, this is not a motivated person, they're just blasting this out there. And we'll look, but it really hurts your chances, and right off the bat, it's a strike against you. So take your time, do your homework, choose your fund carefully, choose your angels carefully as well. If you're getting angels and seed investments now, make sure that you're picking the right people who can introduce you to funds, and who are not going to put terms in any type of funding they give you that are going to bite you in the rear when you go raise money. We've seen some very ugly things, and I've seen very ugly things when I was an entrepreneur, that angels put into term sheets, where they have the right to basically convert at a different value in the next round because their convertible note, it's just, they're taking advantage of the situation. So step 1 is do your homework on the funds. We're going to do a lot of homework on you, so take some time to do your homework on the funds. Second, make sure you really know yourself and your team. First, you have to really be honest with yourself and understand what the standing of your company is. If you're raising a Series A, you love your company, you've built it up, but you have to be honest about what the value of the company is and honest about how much of that company you're going to give up. Most Series A's, you're going to give up 25% of your company at least. It's just the nature of getting institutional investment. So if you come to a Kaszek, a Monashis, a Redpoint, and say, we want to do this round for 8% of our company, you're not necessarily being realistic. It's just the nature of the business. For us to want to be involved, we have to have a significant stake, and we have to understand that you want to be in this partnership. if you're not honest with yourself about what's going to happen to your cap table after an investment, it's going to scare people off. Because we're going to see what you're putting in your deck as we want to give up 8% of our company for $4 million. And we're Series A. It's not going to end well. Second, understand your position very well. You need to know your market inside and out. You need to know every single detail, and you need to know the competitors. When a fund asks you about who else there is in your market, and we've spoken to 8 other companies, and you list 2, that means that most of your deck, it's going to be a lot harder to take seriously, because it means you haven't done your research. You don't know where you stand. Tween is here. You guys are doing a credit card. We've spoken to 5 or 6 companies, probably in Argentina, who said we want to do a credit card. You need to know who at least 3 or 4 of those are. For a poll, you need to know all the guys who are selling wine, not just in Argentina, but in Brazil and in Chile, because their next target market might be Argentina. If you don't have this vision, sit down, dig into Crunchbase, get into Google, go onto LinkedIn, but figure out who the competitors are, whether they're smaller, bigger, and where you fit into the ecosystem. It's always good to see that slide about who else is doing what we're doing and understanding what makes you unique. Which is the third thing that you really need to know about yourself, which is what is your moat. When you have a deck, this is what we are doing. This is what makes what we're doing special, and it stops other people from just doing the same thing. That barrier to entry, that moat, stops a company from the US from saying, all right, our next market is Argentina, and doing it remotely. If you don't know what your barrier is, and why you have to be here in Mendoza, in Argentina, in Latin America, then it's going to be a big challenge to raise money. Because that's the question that we're going to ask every single time during one of our get to know you calls is, what is your barrier to entry from a US company, from a European country, from a Chinese company, from coming here and doing the same thing remotely at half the cost with better technology? So you have to know very much what that moat is about yourself. It can be your team, it can be your data set, it can be the fact that you're closer to certain people. There's a lot of different things it can be. Take Nubank, for example, the banking regulations and jumping through the hoops in Brazil. There's a reason MasterCard doesn't just launch its own card. Despegar has done very well to hold off Expedia initially before they got involved, and they'll hold off many of the major players that came down here because they have specific relationships with the airlines and the hotels here. That's a barrier to entry, that's a moat. You need to know what yours is. A moat, like a barrier. A castle digs a hole around the castle and fills it with water. That's a moat. You need to have one.
That's a good one. With sharks.
Sharks help, yeah. And third, and I cannot stress this enough, be consistent and tell the truth. You're going to talk to any fund to probably 2 or 3 people. We write down everything. We're going to know when you tell us different things and when your story changes. Second, a lot of you guys are very early. And I will tell you, if you want to raise funding in a year for a Series A, send me your deck today. Because we want to see what you say you're going to do over the next 6 months and 9 months so that we can see whether you actually did that. If you project yourself as getting 100 sales over the next 12 months, and then you come to your Series A and you had 50, that's a problem. But the relationship is not formed in a week or 2 weeks. You don't raise money in a month. You raise money over a year, over 18 months, because you build a relationship. We are tracking you. You're tracking us. You're figuring out what the relationship should be. So be consistent and don't exaggerate. You can be an amazing company, but if you're promising 10x of what you're doing, it's a problem. Even if you're performing exactly how you need to be, if you're not coming off as realistic, it's going to be very, very hard to raise funds. So these are the three biggest things that are the common mistakes that I see. The fourth would be, if I had to pick, was your deck. Make sure you have a good deck. No grammatical errors, no spelling errors. Really, no grammatical errors, no spelling errors. It's a big, I don't want to say turn off, but it's a big turn off. Have someone proofread your deck. Really dive in and do it correctly. Format it correctly. Take the extra time to make it make sense and to be clear. Because we're going to save every deck that you send. There's specific software just for the VC industry that makes it really easy for us to view all the decks that you ever sent us in order. I mean, we all use Dropbox, but then we all use other stuff as well, so we can very clearly see everything you've done. So make your deck look professional. But do your homework, be honest about your standing, and tell the truth to the funds, to your angels, to anyone. Before we invest in a company, we probably make 20 to 30 calls to your clients, to your references, and if you told them something different, we're going to hear about that as well. So if you're not honest through your process, you're going to scare off a lot of VCs. So getting a no from one VC is not bad. Getting a no from 4 VCs is not bad. There's enough in Latin America. However, if you say, we're talking to Kaszek, and we've already said no, that's a problem. So we've gotten emails that say, oh yeah, we're talking to 3 other VCs. And we have a term sheet, or we're deep in diligence with another VC and you're not. Where deep in due diligence meant you had 3 calls. Then it comes off as very bad that you're trying to play a game.
Another question? Sorry. It ends up being a conversation, but
You can sit if you like.
yeah, good. Do you respect different companies within the same field? I know that you don't, but I know what they do.
Do we invest?
Yeah, let's say I'm doing fintech. How many fintech companies would you support from the same region?
It depends on their competitors. I mean, we have GlobalLogic, which does personal loans. We have Creditas, which does home and car guaranteed loans. We have Nubank, that's a credit card. They're all in Brazil. Then we have another loan company, Confio, in Mexico. We have Compara Online, that's a fintech. So it's more about, are you in direct competition? We won't invest in 2 companies that are in direct competition or we think are probably going to be in direct competition within 2 or 3 years. But that's just because we have insider information and it's not fair to the companies. And if you're a competitor of one of our portfolio companies for us, for whatever fund across borders, we'll have a very candid conversation with that company to say, we're thinking about investing in somebody who does the same thing. Are you planning on coming to this market in the next 2 or 3 years? Will this be a conflict of interest? But if you're not a direct competitor, most firms won't see a problem. Some will. And some firms will invest in direct competitors because they specialize in a particular industry, whether it's real estate, blockchain, fintech. And then you need to be very smart about what you're doing with your deck and if you really want to talk to that VC, because we're going to read your deck.
Okay, I wanted to ask, it's a 2-part question. What are the must-haves for the deck? What do you focus on, or every VC would focus on? What's the most important? And the second part is, I know every startup will tell you the same. Now, this is my sales, this is my competition, this is everything. What can I make to set the difference? What stands out for you to put in the deck to set the difference?
Probably 3 things. 1, clear product market fit. So making it clear why you have a product market fit, and if you do, and if you don't, understanding that you don't. 2, a clear strategic vision. And what I mean is, what are we going to do in the next year? What are we going to do in the next 2 years? A CEO who has a clear strategic vision, and it's not just, oh, some VC told me that I should use data, or some VC told me that we should move on the blockchain to be more secure and putting that in there. That doesn't help, but if you have a clear, this is where we are and this is where we're going, and you know in conversation how you're going to get there, that's great. And the 3rd is a very strong founding team. At Kaszek, we look for amazing entrepreneurs. We are all entrepreneurs. I mean, Hernan is Mercado Libre, Hernan, Nico are all Mercado Libre. I was an entrepreneur in China. We have a guy on my team who was Despegar before. We're all operators. So we look for really strong entrepreneurs who are very good at what they do. Because due diligence is not about, these are just our numbers. You're going to talk to me and I'm going to grill you on product. You're going to talk to Manu and he's going to grill you on marketing. So you have to be really good about what you do and always be learning. And that needs to shine through. Like, how good is your team?
Yeah, I think that most of us are not in the stage of getting to a VC company and raising $1 million or these amounts. We are actually looking for funds as well, and there's always this particular thing that they ask you, well, how much money are you looking for? And then you can answer, well, we are looking for, let's say, $100,000. So what are you willing to give up from your company then? And then you say, well, 10%. And then they ask you, so your company is valued at $1 million? And the question would be, is it that important to make a valuation, or is it more important in this stage for the most of us just to say, our vision is to get there in 12 months, and the money we need for this to achieve these items in our roadmap is this. Because it's very difficult for a startup that makes a little money or loses money to say, how can you come up with a valuation of $1 million? So my question would be, is it that specific that you put a value on your company, or that you have a clear vision on how to use the money that you're asking for?
Yes, both. So you have to have evaluation because that's just the nature of term sheets. And you can look at things like convertible notes and safe notes and figure out how much you're going to be worth later. So you can say that we're worth this today, but you can use something like a convertible note so that they're giving you money and then there's a cap about how much you're going to be worth at that time. Or a safe note has a cap, convertible doesn't necessarily. So you have that as an option. So you don't necessarily have to do an equity round with angels, you can do a note. Which I'm not going to go into right now because that's a 2-hour conversation in and of itself. But just, are you familiar with convertible notes and safe notes?
Yes, the safe note, no, but the convertible note, yes.
Look into convertible notes as an option if you're early, or pick a valuation. I mean, if you say you want to give up 10% of your company for $100,000, you've named a valuation. So you have to have that just because that's just how the business works. I mean, there needs to be terms that make sense. But how you use the money really is what's important at that stage. If the angel or the seed that you're getting is going to be hands-on. If they're not going to care. They may just be a spray and pray angel where they're going to give out $30,000 to 100 different companies and hope one of them works. So this comes down to doing your homework and figure out if is this going to be an angel or an investor who's going to be hands-on and help me? Or is this an angel investor who's going to give me money and leave me alone? Because that determines whether or not the valuation is the key factor, and what you're going to do with the money is the key factor because they're going to help you. Ideally, you either find an investor who's going to add a lot of value, or you find an investor who's going to stay out of the way. You don't want someone who's going to add a little value and constantly be bumping into you.
Can a startup ask to a VC? It's just a percentage for money, or some option, let's say, of investing, or I can give you more percentage, like 50%, but have like goals, and when I keep the goals, getting back some percentage. Say?
Sorry, I'm going to try to do it that easy. And let's say if there are any other options that just other than saying 10% for this amount of money, I can say, okay, I give you 50, but when I keep up with my goals, we keep returning some percentage, or what are other nice options to present to a VC?
So you have convertible notes, so the valuation of the company is going to change depending on if you grow or not. So if you're an early stage company, you can do that. You can do debt financing outside of VC. So if you do a small round, you can often do debt financing on the side. And then occasionally you'll get investments where we set the term sheet and then things come in tranches, so you get money at different times. But if you're looking to a VC, there's not going to be, one-off strange term sheets. They're going to be pretty straightforward so that everyone's clear and everyone's on the same page and no one's playing any games. Your options are basically an equity round or a note round, and then you can do debt financing on the side. If you want to do something a little different, then you need to find an angel with a lot of money or a seed investor who has a lot of money and is going to basically lead one of your earlier rounds. But most VCs are not going to do something weird. There we go. This is a 4-hour workshop I do with our companies that I think is a very valuable thing for any young startup who's thinking about building a mobile product to go through. It's a 9-step program that right now 6 of them have been posted, and we're posting one every Friday. But I want to make sure that I take 20 minutes to explain how to use this for yourselves. You can find this on LinkedIn. It's the mobile workshop. This is the 3rd iteration of it. Every single Kaszek company has gotten this. And it's something that helps a lot with it. So I wanted to walk you guys through how you can do this on your own. So for me, success on mobile is really the key to success in LATAM, because in the last year, mobile traffic has finally passed desktop traffic as a whole for Latin America, both for apps and for websites. So when you're designing moving forward, you have to think mobile first, because it's a lot easier to design on mobile and convert to desktop than to build something on desktop and move it to mobile. There are exceptions. There are a lot of companies where desktop may be more important for conversions because you're a SaaS product for SMBs and you exist on a tablet and you exist in the stores. But most of the time, mobile is going to be more important for your long-term success. Because simply put, mobile is your brand. Everyone in here use Netflix or something along those lines? Watch TV of some sort on your computer, right? When you're watching TV or movies on your computer, are you watching on your TV and computer and doing nothing, or are you sitting there with your phone, holding it while you watch and checking email? Checking email, doing other stuff, Instagram. No. One person actually pays attention, too. Okay, good. Most people, though, when they're sitting on their sofa watching something, they're messing around on their phone. When you watch TV and movies on your phone, it has your undivided attention. You're focused on this little screen, you're not doing anything else. The same is true for websites and for apps. It's the one time where you have a user's undivided attention. So you have to succeed on mobile because that is where people really get to know you. Desktop might be where they convert, but mobile is where they get to know your brand. So this is a workshop that it runs through a lot of topics. Almost all of the slides in here are about Kaszek companies, just because I like my companies. I love to work with them and partner with them, and I like to highlight what they're really good at. So what you'll see as you go through this are key steps that you need to focus on, followed by some small functional details, followed by an exercise, which is what I want to talk to you guys about. Because every stage has an exercise that you can do that should take your team between 20 and 30 minutes to complete. If you do these exercises, you can do them on your own, and you'll figure out what you need to do on mobile. It's not about, oh, I'm going to read these slides and everything's going to click. It's about doing the homework. So this is our mobile workshop sprint internally that I do with Kaszek companies that we're now sharing with all of Latin America. Each section has a learn, a do, an ask, and a challenge. You can see for before you build your product. So a lot of you guys are pre-product. You need to do basically lightning demos for what you expect your users to do. But there's a trick here. You'll notice that one of the asks is, who are our users? You need to do that first. You need to understand who your users are. Everyone in here knows the number one app for their users, right? Outside of yours. Yes? No? What is the number one app your users use on their phone?
WhatsApp.
Yes. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. It's not something in your industry necessarily. So you need to get to know these. You need to test them. You need to use them. I always suggest doing this in groups of 3. 1 developer, 1 marketing, 1 product person. They sit together, they answer these. Another 3-person team does it separate, and you compare the results of the top 25. But you need to test them. You need to use them, and you need to understand them. Who in here is building a mobile product? 1, 2, 3, a few teams. How many? You're building one too. How many apps have you tested in the last 2 years? Have you downloaded and tested?
A lot.
10?
More.
How many?
25.
25.
Well, 5, it's not the download, we are looking at a specific
Sites, whatever.
5, 6.
15? I've tested 1,500 Android apps and another 500 iOS apps. Every week, download 25 apps and use them. Test them. You'll be amazed at how many great features are in apps that aren't successful that you can say, wow, the way they use that menu is amazing. Wow, the way they filter. You guys are looking at maps. If you just test, the more maps you see, the easier it'll be. You'll see 80 maps, 80 applications that have maps in them, and you'll find things that you love that are great. You'll see e-commerce websites. You need to test e-commerce websites from India, from the US, from Brazil. You're going to find features that you love. You're going to find little details that make something special. So really embrace learning. As far as what to do on the rest of these, you need to make these a process that you do repeatedly. So these workshops are not, let's do this one time. The do on this, for example, is find your app when you have an app in the App Store and the Play Store without using your brand name or slogan. You need to do this every month. You need to know where you are, how people are finding you. You need to know who runs App Store optimization in your company. You need to be able to find your website, your homepage, without searching for your brand. We all pull up our own website all the time for people. Every time you open your own website for somebody, you should be trying to open up your website without using your brand name. So you know what you look like to people who are seeing you for the first time. These are pieces of a process that you need to embed in your development process. Whether you're building an app, whether you're building a site, you need to start doing things that your users would do. Learn, do and then answer questions honestly. How are we testing with users? You know that. Nico and Mike just told you. But test with users. And then take on large-scale challenges. I spoke in fundraising about having a strategic vision. That's what these challenges help you define from a product standpoint. So you need to do pre-product. You need to do navigation. You need to do experience. Let me pull up the full list. But these are not one-time things. And the key to doing these is to having a diverse group in the room, just like a design sprint. So, I'm going to show you guys another example here, and then I'm going to dive specifically into what I think is the most important part of this deck, and then we'll do questions. You can see the do here again. It's something that you have to do a lot. Take your phone, and you can all take your phone right now, take it in your offhand, and try to reach that top far corner. That's how normal people feel when they use a phone. You're all people who are on your phone all day, you work in tech. You're, frankly, if you're in this room, you're probably a nerd. Sorry. So you need to really do these things often. You can't be complacent. One of my favorite things to do is to turn off the desktop version of the site in the office 1 day a week, so everyone gets familiar with the mobile and doesn't take the easy way out. In these, though, this is a very straightforward what we need to do. Design, I'm going to give you guys an example, then I'm going to go through the big one. Design for tasks, not for screens. You can see I'm learning Portuguese, it's all not any better than Spanish. But you design for tasks. It's a clear slide, how to do it, what to do. Read that, and then come down here and do the homework. What is our most successful task? You need to do this every 3 months, every 6 months. Who in here has a live product? What is your most successful task?
Checkout.
What's your conversion rate? When you get someone into checkout, what's your conversion rate?
We don't have that clear. You're measuring that. I don't know.
You need to know the funnel stuff. So do the homework, and by asking questions like this of your team every 3 months, every 6 months, you're going to understand that you think your most successful task is your checkout, but you don't actually know if it's your most successful task. You're just assuming it.
Successful checkout. Most important.
Most important? Great. But how would you consider it successful? What's your most successful task? Benito. Despegar. What's the most successful thing on Despegar?
Which country?
That's the answer you're looking for. You need to make these things part of your process. This is the guy from the startup that's not a startup anymore, and he knows this. This is built into it. You need to make these part of your process. This is just a checklist of things that big companies do with regularity. They constantly go back and look, they evaluate what they need to do. With that being said, I'm going to dive into my favorite section of this, which is how to build a successful app. This is 6 steps that if you do, your app will not go to the terrible death of the Play Store and the App Store where you just disappear. I'm going to give you this exactly how I give it to every company. So, if you have a question at the end of this, feel free to ask. These are the 6 steps to building a successful app or website on mobile. Step 1, add value and convenience. This is the Starbucks app. It exists in the US, it's in Brazil, it's in China. Why do I have this here, not a Kaszek company? Because this is the app that added more convenience and value to my life than any of the other thousands of apps that I've tested. Because the #1 goal of an app is not to be a website in app form. It's to do something more than the mobile site. if your mobile app is not better than your site, don't take the time to build an app. You're paying developers to do something that doesn't add value. So why, you ask, Andy, is the Starbucks app the most convenient app in your life? I'm a very sweaty human being. I am struggling with Mendoza's weather already. I run. When I run, I sweat a lot. Like, I look like I went swimming. In the US, Starbucks has strawberry banana smoothies, protein shakes, water, not the stuff you have here, which is pastries and coffee. So on my run in college, there's a Starbucks on Franklin Street. And I would walk in there at the end of the run. And I would reach into my pocket, and I'd pull out a sweaty $20 bill that you could literally wring money out of. The barista didn't like it, I didn't like it, but it's money. I get my strawberry banana smoothie and I walk the 1 kilometer to my dorm room. Or the hotel I stay at, now that I'm an alumni, so 1 kilometer in the other direction. So I get tired of handing sweaty money over. I carry my credit card one time when I'm back for the annual alumni water polo tournament. I do my run, I go to Starbucks. Crap. Where's my card? I do the same 6 kilometer loop, but this time looking at the ground the entire time. No card. Get back to my hotel room frustrated, it's sitting there on the friggin' counter. In comes the Starbucks app. I can pay from my phone. I have my phone pouch, I have my headphones, I don't lose money, I don't lose the card, I'm not embarrassed about the wet money in my pocket. That is convenience, that is real value to the user. This sounds like a one-off. They have like 7 million active users. All they do is they let you pay and track your star points from an app. But it's real additional convenience. You need to have one thing that is better. Despegar lets you view your trips on the go.
Yeah.
You can see your itinerary when you're offline. You can be on an airplane and you can view your itinerary. That is a big value add. Maybe there's something else that I don't know.
No, we know that we're missing a lot. Like it's really funny what he's saying. It's very true. If you're competing actually with your own website on mobile, makes no sense. Makes no sense. And if you just have one little thing which you don't have on your website, but you have it on mobile, and you actually are taking advantage of the device, makes a lot of sense. One example, which sounds really stupid, but makes a lot of sense for us, at least at Despegar, is the first and only smartwatch app we did for the Apple Watch is a currency converter, which means you're traveling to another country and you can do the conversion at your watch, seeing what your peso is worth in dollars or whatever currency that you're at. It's really, really small. Like, it's not a big feature, but for a very small screen, which is like an Apple Watch, makes a lot of sense. And what's already funny, it didn't take us a lot of time to do it. Like, it was a very small thing, a very small feature, and it took us, I don't think, more than 3 days actually to develop it. And people are still talking about it. And it's really funny because even Apple is talking about it.
They use it?
Yeah, it's a small, simple value add. And it's because 5,000 cell phones are stolen every day in Argentina. In La Nación. Be careful with your phone. You don't have to pull out your phone, you check it on your watch, makes a big difference. Find your one value add. You can save people time on physical trips. You can have better customer service. You can use GPS. You can do loyalty programs. You can add security. You can do all sorts of stuff, but you have to have one thing that you know adds real value to a user's life. Value is not, our menu looks better on the app. Oh, they're really going to like this color scheme. That's not a value add. Real world value add. Step 2, Amaze. If you don't have the Dog Hero app and you've never seen it, download it right now. It's available in Argentina. Download the Dog Hero app. All right. Have you guys seen this before? Download it. We'll take a second. We'll slow down the entire Wi-Fi for the office, but normally I have people download this at the very beginning. Dog Hero. D-O-G-H-E-R-O. And I'll know when you've got it based on the reactions of the people in the room. He's laughing because he's seen it.
It's working.
Alright, well, this is the download process. I have it for this presentation. It's just not in the PowerPoint anymore. I guess it's in the PowerPoint, but not in LinkedIn. You open it, and this is what you get. Dog Hero, big logo. And then you have a dog. You have a happy dog licking the inside of the screen, smiling at you, running, generally just being joyful. Now, why is this important? Going back to the other screen. It's important because you're showing your users that you truly understand their market, what they're there for. If you have a dog and you see that, you think, these people know dogs, they know pets, they have their own dogs. Yes, it's cute and it makes people smile, but more importantly, you trust the people behind the site because they understand dogs and dog owners. You have to win their hearts and earn their trust. You have to be topical experts in what you're selling. If you're selling wine, you need to come off as a wine expert. If you're selling a credit card, you need to understand finance in Argentina. You have to show them at the key junctures, the first time they use your site and your app, that you are an expert at what you do. If they do not believe that you're an expert, they're not going to use your platform. Then you can delight them. You have to make them smile the first time. I can't share the presentation, it's not working on Chromecast. But if you've never used Headspace, it's a meditation app. Instead of being a countdown timer, this bubble actually breathes with you. The bubble moves. You make the user smile via good design. The first time I use an app or use a site, something on the site should make me happy. Whether it's a transition, whether it's a poorly done Clippy for Microsoft Word when they tried to do that, you need to have something that makes them smile. So step 1, add value. Step 2, show them you are experts at what you do. And step 3, delight them. Make them happy via design, via interactions. Then make things easy. Users are, do we have any testers here? Dumb. Persons are smart. People are dumb. You need to make things simple. You need to avoid side quests. What's a side quest? We've all played a video game at some point in our life, an RPG type game maybe, where you're supposed to go kill El Diablo, you're leveling up your character. Oh look, there's a cave with barrels. I'm gonna go break those barrels. That is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be killing El Diablo. Do not send people down into caves to break barrels. Send them down your funnel. They need to go in the right direction. At the easiest steps and the core steps, it has to be simple. This is Get Ninjas. You can either, it's Iguanafix, but for Brazil. You can either be a professional or you're looking for a professional. If my toilet is broken, I do not want to be registering as a plumber. And if I want to fix broken toilets, I don't want to say I have a broken toilet. 2 buttons. People still get it wrong. So we move to the next one. People still get it wrong. This is the newest version, and it'll evolve again. Until they have a 99% success rate, this very simple, easy funnel step is going to keep evolving. Am I hiring a professional or am I a professional? If you mess that up, the user is going to have a bad time. Every marketplace, you should never stop perfecting this. If you have a marketplace with 2 sides, you have to split people correctly. If you have B2B and B2C, you have to split people correctly. If you're Despegar and I search for Mendoza and it shows me flights and I want a hotel, it's gonna be a problem. You have to make it simple and clear. Make your screens obvious. Do not put side quests. Then, anticipate what your user needs the first time they use your product. You have data, you have insight, you should know what they want the first time. This is Picanto, they're like Yelp, they're any type of I'm finding restaurants. When you go to a restaurant page for the first time, you probably want directions or a phone number. So they give you this. The first time you use it, there's an overlay. Because 99% of users, when they come to a restaurant page, they want to know where it is and how to get there and how do I reserve a table. So the first time they use it, you show them, this is how you use it. You need to anticipate their needs. All of you should know the very first question a user is going to ask in your app or site. If you don't, pay attention during your user tests today and see what the very first time they stumble is. You need to not let them stumble the very beginning. We're going to see a lot of that, right? The first stumbles. You need to know what confuses them the first time, anticipate it, and make it easier. And then finally, you need to personalize. You need to make the second experience unique, but you just need to use the person's name and the word you. It makes people feel special. Para você. Awesome. Get their name. Have them log in via Facebook. Hola, Andy. Oh, this is for me. I feel good. Nobody wants to be just a number. Personalizing makes a huge difference. Personalizing doesn't have to be Andy gets an experience, Juan gets an experience, Yonda gets an experience. It can be white guys in tech. That's too many of us. All right, white guys in tech with beards. Now we got 3 of you, 4 of you in the room, we're getting a special experience. And you feel special. Make people have a personalized experience. So how do you do this? First, download the featured apps. Every single week, 3 to 5 apps. Test them for 10 minutes. Figure out what you understood, what you didn't understand, whether or not you would keep this app. Then, figure out how you're going to make a user smile the first time. You need transitions or animations that are going to make a user go, wow, this is a well put together site, a well put together app. It can be how a product goes into your cart if you're in e-commerce. Does it look good when it goes? We've all seen those e-commerce sites where it goes at the top right, and then your bag has 1 on it. That's professional. Doesn't matter what it is, but you need to define some. Do this again and again. It's a great thing to do during a design sprint. Transitions and animations. Doing crazy 8s, which you learned yesterday. For this is a great way to figure out how to make people smile. 5 people, 8 minutes, 40 ideas for animations. You share them and people go, that one's good. We like that. That makes us smile. Figure out what your most important value add is. If you can't answer it in 1 word, go back to the drawing board. Figure out what your most delightful moment should be. Make people smile. I cannot stress this enough. Make people smile. I don't care if you're selling grapes. I don't care if you're to get out of a speeding ticket. People should smile because you did something that made their life easier. And finally, this is something that as soon as you have data, I suggest every company, doesn't matter what you do, every company in the world should do this. Track all the events that happen in the first use for all your users. They clicked to open. They clicked on this button. They clicked on this tab. Track all the events. Look after 7 days, the users who came back a second time. Look at the users who did not come back a second time and see what was different. We're not looking for things that happened in 80% of users we kept. Because it may have happened in 80% of the users we lost. We're looking for things that happened in 20% of users we kept and 1% of users we lost. That means it's 20 times more likely to have a user stay. That's a lot more significant than 80% of users who stuck around did this and only 78% of users we lost did it. Doesn't tell you anything. If you do nothing else from this entire playbook, if you want, read it online, follow it on LinkedIn, do that exercise. This is all online. Feel free to ask a question if you decide to do it internally. But it's a great, very straightforward way to build a mobile product. Every single step that we do internally is in here. So if you have questions or concerns about it, just shoot me an email.
So we're here with Andy, and the idea is that we're going to talk a little bit about our experiences and topics, actually, that we're interested considering.
They're yours.
Products.
No, they're if you're sitting out here, you wear your glasses.
about products and how to design products, which strategy makes sense for a company. Depending on innovation, not innovation, and optimizing stuff. So what do you think?
Are we waiting for people? I don't know. I mean, I think it being outside scared a bunch of people off.
Mike.
You good? All right, if this is what we've got. So, for me, product and growth strategies come down to, I guess, three things. There's three main strategies for product development. You're either adding value, creating new value, or telling people what your value is. So adding new value is improving your product, creating new value is innovation, and telling people about your project is growth. And balancing these three is really the route to success for product development and for growing a product.
I totally agree that that these values, without a doubt, are the most important aspects when you are thinking about your company and you're thinking about the values of your product or about your services. But when we think about values, it seems like value is a very generic term. What do you think? How should we measure our values so we can actually improve on the numbers?
So, I mean, it's going to be a company by company. So let's take Despegar, for example. You can improve the value of Despegar by giving more offerings. Or when you added hotels on top of flights, you're doing something brand new. And you have to pick one of those routes versus creating new landing pages to get more people coming in so that they only come through search. So for your company, you need to understand where you are as a company, whether you're in a money-making stage. So do we need conversions today? Do we need information today? Or are we still getting to the point where our product is going to be good enough to stand alone? And that's how you have to prioritize it. So value is a very subjective term, and you each have to know what your own value is. But if you want to really dive into a monetary value or a database value, you're going to have a lot of problems unless you know what your lifetime value is. So value today might be a single purchase, whereas for a SaaS company, it's monthly recurring revenue. So is it more important to get 10 new customers, or is it more important to have 90% of your customers not churn? So you have to look at it case by case about where you're putting the effort.
That's true, especially in our case with Despegar. We figured out that since we already have a huge chunk of the market, like market share actually, is not so much more of an orientation anymore for us, since it is the same thing which happens with Mercado Libre actually, because already almost everyone in Latin America already used at least one time Mercado Libre or at least one time Despegar. So for us, we figured out that actually getting a better relation with our already existing customers and users for us is way more important. So we are not only revenue orientated, which makes of course a lot of sense since it's a public company, but we're also quite orientated on user experiences, on NPS, on aspects actually that we can measure, although it's not necessarily only by selling services, not only by the way that people consume flights or buying or reserving hotel rooms or buying activities from us, but also figuring out if people are happy, if they're willing to come back, especially to actually return to buy stuff from us.
So Despegar has the luxury of being a big company, so they can focus on growth through information and NPS. I do suggest all of you do an NPS. Does everyone know what NPS is? No. NPS is your Net Promoter Score. So whenever you get an email that says, please rate us 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us to a friend? A 9 and a 10 are promoters. A 6, 7, and 8 are neutral, and anything below that are seen as detractors. And out of you ask 100 people, if all of them give you a 9 or a 10, you have an NPS of 100. If all of them give you below 6, you have a minus 100. And you basically do math on it. If you search for an NPS calculator, it'll do it all for you, and you just put in your numbers. But it's a relationship with your customers and how people view you as a whole, which you have the luxury of going after. So the ability to provide the currency converter and to provide more information is something that you can only do as a growth channel once you have a successful product. If Despegar had started as a currency converter or had started as a travel blog, it wouldn't be what it is today. The focus was on improving their product to a certain point and then adding additional points in the vertical flow.
That's true. We figured out actually that it is not, when we're talking about the values and these three aspects of values, it's not that, and considering Despegar and the products or the services actually that we offer, we always stay with the same value or with the same perspective. Actually, we're moving our values and we're coming forward and back between different values for the same product quite often. So it's sometimes we feel like, okay, we should innovate at this point for a certain product, because it seems like that there is competition that has the same that we are already offering, that maybe even offering something way better than we do. So we should innovate something, or we just come across and say, well, we have a fantastic idea how we could do something. We don't know if the market is ready or not, but we have to try it, because it's a shame, but sometimes when it is innovation, you cannot ask the user, since there is no existing experience with that. There is a famous example that, of course, you know, from Henry Ford, when he said, well, if I would have asked actually our users and clients how to improve the moving, the transport, they would have said that they would prefer 100 horses in front of the cart and would have never come up with a motor, actually, with an engine.
Faster horses, not a car.
Exactly. So at a certain point, Henry Ford took the risk, said, no, I'm going to do something very different. And he could not ask anyone about the experience and had to take the risk. At Despegar, we do the same. Obviously, for us, we are very conscious about the risk that we take, and it's not all do or die, and it's not that the risk is so high that we would say, well, we drop off markets if we fail. We always say, as we talked before, it is important also to fail when you're innovating, right?
So if you're thinking about innovating like they are, the best piece of advice that I think I can give you guys as companies at an early stage is make sure you're understanding the ways that you can expand and grow. You can improve what you have today and just make it a better offering. You can expand parallel, or you can verticalize the process. So what do I mean by that? Take restaurant reservations or ordering, like a pedidosha. You guys have pedidosha here, restaurando. If I'm restaurando, I can make it easier to search and filter. I can grow via getting more restaurants on board. I could grow by offering reservations of things besides restaurants, or I could verticalize the process, which means right now when you reserve a restaurant on a restaurando, you can pay in certain cities. So inside the app you can pay, you can book, it ties into Uber, you can call your Uber in Sao Paulo. So instead of being just 2 minutes of the dining experience and then deciding to be 2 minutes of the booking a wine tour experience and then being 2 minutes of some other reservation platform, they decided they wanted to be there in more parts. So if you're thinking about how to grow and how to innovate and be challenging what you're doing, make sure that you are looking through it in the light of, we can go in parallel, we can add new products that do the same thing, or we can expand how involved we are in the person's life. And if you look at a lot of the really successful companies, both in Latin America and globally, you'll see that it's a combination of the two. Mercado Libre added Mercado Pago. That inserts yourself in different parts of the journey. It fights fraud, it does a lot of things, but really what it does is it means instead of just finding, you're also transacting on their platform. For travel agencies, if you use some of them, they take you to the website and they do a referral code, or in the case of Despegar, you pay on the site. And then they add pacotes, so they're adding more verticalization, whereas adding hotels is something in parallel. So make sure you understand what the direction needs to be. Do you expand into more similar areas, or do you become more involved in the lifetime process? And I think it's evident of most of the companies here. I mean, like, do you want to make a better box and a better app, or do you want to provide extra products along the way? How involved are you going to be in the drone? Do you create better drones, or do you create video production or an add-on product on how they're using the drone? And both routes are valid. Maybe the better offering is a bigger box or a smaller box, or maybe it is being more involved throughout the process and being a full stack provider for growing. Maybe we need to educate them, maybe we need to provide the seeds, maybe we need to teach them how to harvest, or maybe they just want a bigger box. But you need to figure out which way it is. Is it out, or is it more involved in their process?
And sometimes it's very funny. Sometimes it's not even that visible when you add something to your, add something or improve or innovate something within your services, but which really makes a difference. I think the major example for that surely is Amazon. If you see Amazon now, Amazon appears to be, it is, with Alibaba, the biggest marketplace in the world. But what makes it so special is not actually being a marketplace. What makes it so special is that the delivery and the logistics behind Amazon is so fucking amazing. And nobody actually talks about it. It's not like when you think about, let's talk about Amazon, that you would say, yeah, amazing logistics. Everybody would say, oh yeah, it's cool that you buy a book there or that you get videos or whatever. It's not that obvious that the magic is actually happening in the delivery of the products that they are selling. And it's the same thing that we had a conversation this morning in the kitchen when we were talking about selling wine. It's really funny that at a certain point when you are at the startup level and you think, well, okay, what we should do is selling wine, and you focus on the prices and how you do your checkout and how you present your product, maybe the difference is actually how you deliver the wine that you're selling. And maybe when you compare yourself to the benchmark, to competitors, you'll say, well, okay, there's another competitor who is selling the same wine for $10 less or $5 less. Maybe you can be more expensive only by being well and way better in delivering your product, right? It's sometimes it's strange that when we talk about innovation and growth and improving our products and services that we mostly think about the straightforward, okay, we go straight, we will sell more wine than anyone else and we have better prices than anyone else. And maybe it's not only that. Maybe it's way more invisible than it seems like. It's really strange. We have the same at Despegar. It's the same thing when we sell trips. Actually, we're just like an online travel agency. We're big, we're huge actually, and we're successful. But if you compare, we compare ourselves permanently with the small agencies, and not because we think they are really competitors, because we know that we define prices, but they have stuff that we don't have. Like for instance, someone in a travel agency can ask questions and we cannot answer them. Like if you have a question on Despegar at a certain point of the flow, I cannot give you an answer to that. And even though that our prices are awesome and that we have excellent products and services, there is stuff that we just cannot do. And I know if we would figure out a way to do it, we could rock it all. Like we could seriously make a huge difference, although it does not have to do on the very obvious product or service that we sell.
And how do you determine that? How do you determine, because I think that everybody knows that if you can chat with somebody in Despegar, maybe I think your sales will increase. Or maybe my mother can buy there.
Yes.
But why? When do you determine to go there and when do you determine not to go there?
Sometimes in our case at Despegar, we are very, very conscious about what we're doing wrong, but we know where we want to get to, but we still don't know exactly how to do it. Since we're a technology company, it is obvious that most of our processes are automated, and they should be, because that's the way also that we make money.
I think that has to do with the vision that was something like Andy said earlier today, and I think it has more to do with that, with like a clear vision and to stick with that and to, and obviously that change has a lot of cost, because you say, oh, it's obvious that you can put like a real gigantic call center and answer everybody's calls and everything will be okay, but that has a like enormous cost. So I think that is
we know things, but sometimes we don't know how to do it. And when we're talking about startups a lot of times and about ideas, but same thing actually applies also on big corporates. The idea of something has a certain part of success. Like you could have the best idea on the planet, but if you're not capable to execute it well, it makes no sense, because you're just blowing hot air into the atmosphere. You're not doing something real. So even though that's sometimes very obvious, you say, well, you should answer these calls because people will be way more happier. We know that. It's just that at this point, we don't know how to solve it very well.
Well, I like to think somebody in Despegar, hopefully, has done the math. So if I was the head of product at Despegar, I would set up chat in 10% of users and put real people behind it. And I would see what the conversion numbers are. And if the conversion numbers are good enough, we're going to figure out what technology we need or what the cost of people doing this is. And often the constraint, for instance, this is just technology. Natural language processing is almost to the point where you can have a chatbot do this for them if they build up the knowledge base. So for Despegar, it might be the technology or it might be the cost. Hopefully someone's done the analysis and tested this, but they're at a very different stage than most of you, where they have to be answerable to their shareholders now, which means they have to figure out what the exact raise in conversion rate and raise in ticket price is when they chat, and then how can we do it so that the rev is higher than the cost of doing it? Is it people, is it natural language processing, or is it not doing it? Which is all about unit economics, which is a startup what you should be thinking heavily about. I'm going to ask you guys one more question before we open it up for questions from you guys. Everyone in here used an Uber, a Lyft, a 99? Yes? No? Okay. So when you have a memorable taxi ride, whether it's good or bad, he's crazy, he's got a fast meter, who do you give credit or blame for that ride? Do you blame the taxi company, the Remy's company that you called, or do you give it to the driver? Because they verticalized themselves. They innovated and they improved on the taxi experience, not just by the calling, but by the rating system and by putting their brand front and center. So it's that invisible thing. You blamed the driver because you could give him a 1 star. That's not all innovation is adding something positive. And not all growth comes from being cheaper. Cheaper is not always better. Cheaper can have a negative impact as well. Maybe that's why we have the 3 price points always in SaaS products. The low one, the slightly more expensive one, and then the really expensive. Cheaper is not always better. Innovation's not always about giving a better experience. It's making sure that you're not associated with a bad experience. So not forgetting about your users who don't have a good experience, who fail, who don't get a loan, who don't get your credit card, who don't find the wine they want. But I think we're at a time where we should just open up for questions. It can be general or it can be about your company specifically if you'd like.
I have a question just getting back to the theme of I was reading something about your mainstream customers and your expert customers. I think we were discussing, there's probably people looking for the tiniest detail or technicality within a wine. They need to know exactly the acidity and exactly. But do you focus on this one, or is it just focusing on mainstream customers?
Depends on your product market fit. So if you're selling 6,000 peso bottles of wine, it's very different from selling a 12-pack for 400 pesos. And you have to focus on that at the beginning. At some point you can have both, but you need to know who your customer is, which means you have to do his job and do your user research. You can't do everything as a young startup. That's why Netshoes is Netshoes. They sell things for cheap, and why fashion online is fashion. It's not an e-commerce. You don't buy a 5,000 peso shirt from the same place you buy 200 peso shoes, unless you're Amazon, and they can do that at this stage. So you have to focus on your desired product market fit, and if you find another one, then you pivot quickly.
And there is another recommendation. Once you decided one thing, or if you researched one thing, don't stick with that too long, because I would, as he said, hopefully someone is doing the math. I would even add to that, hopefully someone still is doing the math, because even though that at a certain point, I would tell you, focus on the detail, because it makes sense at this point to sell like the $6,000 wine. Maybe in 2 months or 3 months, I would tell you, check your customers, because maybe it's now time to change your strategy. Maybe you should wait 6 months. It depends on your businesses. It's always when we say it depends, it's because we are honest. And otherwise, we would just lie, saying there's a general formula. There is no general, at least that I know of. There is no.
It's purely mathematical and evaluation. So if you look at the Kaszek portfolio, we have SaaS products like Zupi, which is an API gateway who targets banks and telecoms. That's very different from a Contabilize that targets 2- and 3-person companies. The ticket is 1,000x. And they both had to do the evaluation of why do I want to get 10,000 SMBs or 10 corporates? And it depends on what your offering is and what the value is. So if you can sell at the right margins and the right unit economics, really expensive wine, and give people that good experience, more power to you. If you can't, then it doesn't matter how much detail you put into it, how much effort you put into it. If people aren't going to buy those wines online, unless they are on your Facebook page defending you and telling all their friends and referring people.
I think this is the challenge. This is a marketplace. I don't define a price. I try to compare to see what the price is of the wine that this producer is selling compared to the same wine on another page. And I can only inform. That's my challenge. I don't define
But you define it on what you default sort is, what you show on the homepage, how you frame your brand. The products I see on the homepage, that price point tells me a lot about what this marketplace is for. What your default sort is, most popular, highest rated, it's very different on who you're targeting. I mean, you have marketplaces that overlap at different ways. The decision to default to UberX versus Uber Black is a very conscious decision because it means in your first experience you're seeing a lower ticket price. I mean, every marketplace has to pick its primary initial niche. And it's a conscious decision. Search on Mercado Libre for Apple. What are you expecting? Apple products, like a phone and a computer? Or are you expecting apples and applesauce? Someone had to make that decision at some point. And that defines a lot about the brand. It's like 80% Apple products and 20% like produce. I know the guy who helped define that.
More questions?
I have another one. Like, it's not possible to make everybody happy.
No.
What would be a rate between happy and unhappy people to figure out that we are on the right way or in the right market and not to unfocus?
Depends on your vertical. So your NPS is great for this. In fintech, you have lower NPSs. In e-commerce, you have higher NPSs. You need to get an idea of what an NPS in your vertical is. Like giving out loans, you're going to tell people no more often than yes. Selling wines, people are going to get drunk and be happy, hopefully most of the time. It's a very different vertical. So it's relative to your industry. And you can look for benchmarks on NPSs online. But that's the number that should be improving. And it should be improving from semester to semester and year to year.
And when you're a startup that you don't have the numbers that you need to evaluate costs versus increase of sales or NPS, how can you determine how much is too much of a service, or you're losing focus, or you're adding new features that the client values? If you're doing mainly one thing, for example, in his case, he's selling wine, but he adds delivery with a cool box and everything, how can he know that that is too much for now, for this moment, and when is the appropriate time to add new features?
When you can create a proper hypothesis and proper tracking. So you should not just say we're going to add this feature blindly. Even if it's just changing delivery or changing the way something looks, you should know why you're doing it and what you expect it to move. If you're not doing that, you're just throwing things against the wall. It doesn't matter if you're creating Facebook creatives. You need to A/B test them. Picture 1 with the same text, picture 2 with the same text. Picture 1 with text A, picture 1 with text B. Everything is measurable. What is our NPS, which is a simple survey that you can send out by email for free to anyone who purchases. Did it move when we did this? And you may have to do it in a spreadsheet instead of using a fancy software. But you can still do it. Because if you're not measuring, you're not going to be able to grow because you don't know what works and what doesn't.
And even worse, sometimes you'll grow, and this is also something that happens to us, at least sometimes, that we are very successful, but sometimes we don't know why. And this is even worse, because you cannot repeat. So you're doing something really well, and you want to keep on doing it, but without knowing how to do it, it's a no-go, right? So user research, therefore, is a huge help because it tells you why are people doing stuff or why they are not. And the other way around, if you do quantitative using analytics, sales, whatever you use for database, you will know exactly what the people are doing or what they're not, but not why they're doing stuff. So user research is something that helps a lot. NPS helps a lot. Checking your revenues helps a lot.
Just talking to customers via email
helps a lot. Yeah.
Send them an email, a real personal email to 10 customers. If you read about Credit Karma, the CEO of Credit Karma was in Reddit answering questions, even to this day, I believe. He talks to direct customers and wants to know what their real problems are because he thinks it gives them better insight. I will say, though, if you're enterprise software, you need to have a market roadmap. And then you give that to them. You need to know 18 months out what you're building because that helps you with the sale. So everything we said is assuming that you're consumer-facing or you have the ability to iterate quickly. If you are building software or enterprise, don't use Scrum, first of all. And second, make sure that you have a product roadmap that you're pushing towards your to your clients so they know what they're going to get in 12 months, in a year. And you can move on that a little, but you need to be clear.
Maybe the same. I just heard about Henry Ford. You said he has an idea, and great idea. But how did he knows about how big has to be his idea, his first impulse or his first factory? How big?
But I mean, that first one doesn't have to be huge. I mean, you discover you have a product market fit by building your prototype, by putting it out there. I mean, I don't know enough about Ford to say that how many cars he built before he got an assembly line, but you don't set up a factory right off the bat unless you're sure that it's going to work. And sometimes you're sure. I mean, we're not all Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs did exist. He launched the iPhone and he knew. I mean, sometimes you know.
And the other
and if you know, and you know that you have the next iPhone, please come talk to me.
Yeah, to be honest. And the other thing is, actually, this is why we're doing this design sprint stuff, is often you can actually prototype on a very low cost and very fast to figure out if you're on the right track. It will not tell you exactly what to do, but it shows you actually what's not working very well, and you can improve that. So work on MVPs, figure out what you can do to have a good sign, a good insight of that you're on the right track. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because I can assure you, it's very...
You're going to miss it.
You're going to miss it. It's not going to... Probably it's not going to happen. And if it's happening, it's probably going to take a long time. So you're going to be on the line, and there will be competition who's doing the same stuff like you. And if you... Like, I'm a very paranoid person, which is a shame for my family, but which is really good for Despegar, because I always think that there is someone else in the world who's doing the same like I do, and I'm convinced that he or she is doing it way better than I am. It's just that I don't know her or him yet. So I know that there is someone out there, and I'm doing all my best every day that I'm still winning this race.
That person is a Chinese person doing C-Trip, giving the same lecture in Beijing.
For instance.
He probably is out there. Or she.
But at that as your company grows, you go less gut and more data. But if you're under 5 people, it's fine to trust your gut. I mean, it's a spectrum on following your gut to talking to users to having data, and it depends on the size. The same way using Scrum is not relevant when you have 1 developer.
Why you said you don't use Scrum? We use Scrum.
No, you can use Scrum all you want. I'm saying if you're enterprise software that doesn't have that feedback cycle. So that's that's why I said if you're enterprise software, everything we're saying, it's a different type of boat, because you need to tell your client where you're going to be in a year and 18 months.
Yeah.
You have a market roadmap to go with. Traditionally, you have a product roadmap, maybe like a quarter, and you can use Scrum, and you can iterate, and something new comes up, you talk to customers. But if you're selling on a year and 2-year cycle.
And plus also considering like startups, the reason why I usually don't suggest Scrum is it is sometimes, or mostly it is, that you never have a second chance to make a first impression, and it's always way easier to deinstall an app than convince the user to install it once again, once it is deinstalled. So if you're already convinced, as he said, you already convince your users, and you already have your users, and you know they don't, you are just Adobe, and you can Scrum all your way through, because people will not drop off that easily. well, until Sketch probably, and some others were coming up, but usually it was like that. Now, you're selling wine to people, and you have customers, and you don't want that these people leave. Like, you don't want to risk with Scrum saying, well, yeah, we just do it right now, and then we figure out how to improve it, because maybe there will be no one to show that you improved something. So Scrum at that point for startups usually, if you're not like a software factory, as he said, I would not recommend it. I seriously would not recommend it. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm with Google and with design sprints, because at that point, usually for you guys, it's a bit more efficient.
There's a spectrum on this. I mean, when to use Scrum, when to use Kanban. Kanban's more for like a QA team, when to use enterprise, when to rely on the strategic vision of a very strong founder. And as your company progresses, and you get more talented people and you get more data, it's going to move more and more towards the ability to use these formats. And the reason these formats exist is because big companies like Google and Spotify created them. They weren't created by 5 people in a room building a product saying, we can be more efficient, I have an idea, get me some Post-it notes. It's created by bigger companies, and they work. And there's a reason these big companies are these big companies, but they weren't necessarily always there from day one. Let's do one more question, because I literally just burned myself on my button.
About parallel growth. For example, I don't know how the VC, how much is involved with the startups, but how do you make it? How do you keep them focused? For example, not become something like, for example, I saw that they opened a branch for departments. Okay, hotels is the obvious match, let's say, but they open up a section to rent departments and cabins and things like that. So you open up like competing with Airbnb.
Yes.
Does it make sense? Isn't that too much? How do you keep them focused? When it's too much and when it's not?
In our case, it's very simple. There is no way escaping Airbnb. And what we can do is we just wait until we lose it all to Airbnb, or we just try to compete with them at a certain point and keep with what we have. Like, there is no doubt we're going to lose against a certain model, but since we have like between 90 and 120 million users a year, we can try to convince them that we're as good as Airbnb. And maybe we're going to lose like 60% to Airbnb, but we keep 40, right? Or we can just wait and don't innovate and not take over, and we're going to lose 100%, that's for sure.
No, I know, but my question is, how do you decide on whether to allocate resources onto something new, or really becoming really better on what you're ready to focus, to be much better on what you do instead of spreading out too much?
Let me start by first addressing the actual question. We don't tell entrepreneurs what to do. We're not their bosses. We're partners. The success of the company is important to us, and it is to them. So at that part of the question, we don't. We help them come to conclusions based on our experience. And it varies. I mean, one, the team has to believe in what they're doing. That's first and foremost. It's your company. It's not my company as a VC, it's your company. We're here to help and to partner, to provide capital, to provide insight, to provide expertise, but you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're not passionate about expanding into this additional vertical, it doesn't matter how much I try to push you, it's not going to work. So first and foremost, make sure your team wants to do it and believes in it and cares about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is unit economics. So much of the success of a startup comes down to unit economics. So the individual user. How much does it cost to acquire a user? What's their lifetime value? How do we scale this up? And maybe it's cheaper to get users in another area, or maybe it's cheaper to get users to do more things. So for me, it comes down to the analysis of individual users and their lifetime value versus, their ROI. Does the ROI move more to expand into another area where a first-time user has an ROI of 2, or does it make more sense to increase our 1.8 to 2.4? And it's those two things. What are the economic situation both today and 2 years down the line? Because lifetime value is calculated over years, not over purchases. And are you passionate about it? are you going to do this? I mean, we have HR companies where, sure, it'd be great if they could get involved in the fingerprint scanners that you have to do in Brazil. But if they're not passionate about hardware, it doesn't matter how good it is, they're not going to do it great. The founder and CEO is an ex-VC. Hardware is not his thing today.
No, actually, my question was the other way around. When you're passionate about something, but you were actually making the wrong decision, you were spending too much. Okay, I believe in this, it's great, I want to put passion, but it was too much, you didn't have the right resources to allocate resources, and you ended up using this one for putting resources.
Well, which one are you more passionate about becomes the question. You can be passionate about a lot of things, but if my house is on fire, I'm grabbing my kid, not my dog. I mean, I love Tonto, but sorry, I'm grabbing my baby. You have your passion. If you're passionate about everything,
difficult.
You're gonna have to really sit down and be honest with yourself.
Esta charla se llama Fireway para seres humanos porque justamente es una presentación que armé para hacer internamente en la oficina allá de Google, ya que la mayoría no son técnicos, y explico un poco qué es lo que hace Firebase, porque es interesante, las características principales, pero sin entrar mucho en lo técnico. Entonces cualquier duda, consulta o crítica. Bueno, el Firebase ya más o menos todos me contaron, algunos ya lo implementaron, otros están viendo qué es Firebase. Firebase era un producto de startup que es adquirido por Google en 2014 y tenía una propuesta muy simple pero muy concreta. Era un producto con funcionalidades ya implementadas que te daba acceso a login, ya utilizando su infraestructura, hosting de una página web de contenido estático y una base de datos en tiempo real que estaba capeada con un JSON que era bastante innovadora en el sentido de que estaba pensada para trabajar en este concepto de tiempo real. Ya no tanto voy y busco los datos y los presento, sino que está en todo momento conectado la vista con la base de datos. Entonces, si cambio algo acá, se actualiza inmediatamente y mismo si se actualiza en la base de datos, se notificaba automáticamente por push que había una notificación y se actualizaba el modelo. Google lo adquiere en 2014 y en 2016 se lanza Google Firebase, que es lo llamamos nosotros Firebase 2, que es hoy en día la recomendación de plataforma de desarrollo para aplicaciones móviles. Entonces, ¿en qué consiste Firebase o en dónde cae Firebase? De todos los productos que tenemos, los de infraestructura como servicio, como son Compute o Container Engine. Container Engine, todos saben lo que es. Compute Engine. Bueno, Compute Engine es nuestra propuesta de virtualización muy parecida a Amazon. Son máquinas virtuales que uno puede configurar la cantidad de procesadores, la memoria, el tamaño de disco, cómo quieres escalar, configuraciones de red y demás. Container Engine es un nivel un poquito más arriba en la que en vez de trabajar directamente con la máquina virtual, se trabaja con el concepto de contenedores. El producto más conocido es Dorka, que los contenedores son básicamente un conjunto de servicios o de aplicaciones ya preconfigurados y preinstalados que se pueden replicar y operar distintamente de la misma manera en distintos servidores. Google App Engine, que para mí es uno de los productos más interesantes del producto de cloud, es un nivel aún más arriba, es la plataforma como servicio. App Engine ya provee el servidor web, la base de datos, el alojamiento, está todo en la plataforma. Uno lo único que hace es desarrollar en los lenguajes que están soportados, acceder a todos estos servicios vía APIs y Google automáticamente se encarga de escalar o disminuir la cantidad de instancias que tengo de acuerdo al tráfico que tengo o que voy a tener. Es súper interesante. Después tenemos los software as a service, que son los productos por ahí más para consumidores de Google, que son Gmail. En realidad es un poco más que la plataforma como servicio, es un servicio ya listo para usar, no es la plataforma, sino el servicio funcionando que uno puede tomar y empezar a usar, y por eso se empezó a utilizar el concepto de backend as a service, digamos. Ya no es la plataforma, sino es el backend listo, yo me conecto y lo empiezo a usar sin tener que desarrollarlo. Obviamente Firebase no soluciona todos los problemas, pero yo siempre digo, no soluciona todos los problemas. Obviamente a medida que la aplicación crece uno tiene que desarrollar cosas alrededor de Firebase, pero soluciona problemas que todos tenemos. Entonces es una propuesta que te permite arrancar de manera gratuita, implementando las mejores prácticas, porque todo esto está desarrollado por ingenieros de Google, bajo la infraestructura de Google, con equipos de seguridad, etc. Y está ya implementado, con lo cual para una startup es clave poder ahorrarse esas semanas o meses de desarrollo para tener una salida al mercado lo más rápido posible y eventualmente descartar el producto, pero en caso de que no, tener un producto que pueda escalar más allá de la Entonces, ¿cuál es la idea detrás de Firebase? Google tenía un montón de productos orientados a aplicaciones móviles. La idea de Firebase fue incorporar todas estas soluciones bajo un mismo paraguas y darle al desarrollador una experiencia uniforme. Que la documentación sea la misma, que la forma de incorporar la librería sea la misma, que se pueda controlar toda la información del un solo lugar, digamos, unificar y hacer más fácil al desarrollador poder trabajar con estos productos. Por eso se fueron agregando cosas como Adecco, que es la solución para monetización de plataformas móviles, ahora forma parte de Firebase. Lo que era la plataforma de notificaciones push, que era Google Cloud Messaging, ahora es Firebase Cloud Messaging. Digamos, todos los nuevos desarrollos para construir aplicaciones móviles se están empezando a alojar abajo del paraguas de Firebase para poder tener este producto sólido y funcional. Es multiplataforma, con lo cual está súper interesante. Bueno, cuando le están haciendo archivos de Matter, donde yo puedo tener una sola fuente de datos, un solo servicio de login, un solo alojamiento de archivos y acceder a eso desde distintas plataformas y sincronizarlas en tiempo real. De manera que si tengo un chat y alguien escribe desde la web, mi aplicación de iOS me actualice inmediatamente. Y después, al estar dentro de la infraestructura de Google, no solo dentro de los servicios de Firebase, sino todo lo que son los APIs de Google, Cloud, Maps, algo de Machine Learning que voy a mostrar. Todos esos servicios son más fáciles de implementar porque está todo dentro ya de la granja, digamos, dentro de las murallas de Google, y hay muchos problemas que no se ven.